everyone, this is Jill Itoro with SC Media, and I want to welcome you to today's conversation, which promises to be both interesting and fun. I want to introduce my two guests, one of whom you might recognize. We are joined by John O'Hurley. He was, back in the day, the pompous boss of Elaine on Seinfeld, Jay Peterman. He also made it to finalists in Dances with the Stars, and he was a host for Family Feud. So why on earth would John want to talk to me, a cybersecurity journalist? We will find that out shortly. We are also joined by Becky Wanta. She is a technology leader who has had an incredible career working for a number of companies, including Wells Fargo, PepsiCo, Best Buy, MGM, to name only a few. The two are here to actually talk about a new venture that they are launching in, believe it or not, the biometric identity authentication space, hence this conversation. So first, I want to welcome both of you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you,
Great
Jill.
to be with you.
Great.
Absolutely. We do have some very exciting stuff to talk about.
Yes, I can't wait. I want to kick it off, John, by asking how on earth you ended up launching a startup in this space.
Well, I am a serial entrepreneur. In addition, because I find a sense of theatrics in everything that I do, whether it's on stage or whether it's in businesses that have great ideas. And so I've been lucky enough to stumble and put my fingers through a lot of good belt loops in the franchises that I've had on television. But I've also been outside the entertainment space and found some wonderful ideas, and this is certainly one of them. I'm addicted to the idea of culture-changing ideas, and I believe the Q5 idea is exactly that.
That's great. That's exciting. And Becky, how did you two meet?
So, well, we met through the Q5 ID with John being our spokesperson. So I'm the global CIO and CTO for the company, as well as a board member.
Okay.
And so we're pretty excited about this disruption. And we're not launching it, Jill, we've launched it. We have commercial products in the app store, as you know, and John's just been a phenomenal partner for us and being able to help us tell the story in an all audience understanding, which is very challenging when you got such a disruption that doesn't exist anywhere in the marketplace.
Absolutely. So, and I'm going to open this up to both of you to just chime in, but tell me about the company, how it got off the ground and, what the focus is.
So the company was founded in 2019 by two individuals, or actually 2 or 3 individuals, but they came from another company called Secure ID. And the notion behind this company, which is what makes it a first to market, one of a kind, is in the space of identity and access management. You follow the whole cyber industry and identity management, so you know what that looks like. And I typically am the top decision maker in all Fortune 50s about anything technology related, right? So the whole space of security for me has always been very frustrating because it's never been approached from a systems perspective. Enter Q5 ID in the sense that our disruption and our focus is what's game changing. So in the space of identity and access management, Jill, that always assumes you're exactly who you say you are. We don't assume that. We use a combination of biometrics, unique IP, different, credible data sources, lots of tactics and so forth in a very secret sauce kind of a way. And so we prove the identity, which nobody's proving an identity. And our challenge, and John is extremely helpful in this, is explaining to the world that you need your identity proven, because you need to be sure, for a lot of different reasons, the person you're talking to is the person you should be talking to. And we could talk about it as it relates to a customer, as it relates to an employee that you may have hired, or a recruiting firm. And we can get into a lot of different use cases. But the goal with this, too, from my perspective, is to make this more of a dial tone, that as you conduct your life in a safe and secure way, the identity, the people you're dealing with, your identity is proven. And you only get one, Jill. You can't reverse engineer this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not mimicable. And we can talk a lot about examples of where we've been asked to prove, like in the case of, I was saying this earlier about, I've done 2 interviews with Rolling Stone magazine. And one was dealing with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard divorce. And the opposing counsel was saying that that's not really Johnny Depp followers, they're fake bots, chat bots. And so we said, our technology can absolutely prove those were Johnny Depp followers. And then the other one had to do with what happened with the awards, where an independent film took the top, the top Oscar award, Emmy award it was. And the court of public opinion, and John can talk a lot more about that, but that was another one that I did that said, here's why proven identity matters.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And actually,
Yes.
go ahead, John. I was going to say, the one thing
We have stumbled down this road as we have absorbed the information superhighway into our lives, with both the efficiency and the efficacy of it. But what we also have absorbed is this notion that we give away so much of our personal information, and it goes out there, and we allow it to be sitting in the cyber locking space of these companies that we deal with. And that is the way that we have accepted, that that's the way it's got to run. And we can change our passcodes, and we can change our usernames, and hope that there are firewalls that are up to be able to prevent people from getting this information. Well, suppose we went back and said, well, why does that information ever have to get out there to begin with? And if it's out there, is there a way to do it to make it absolutely unusable? Well, we enter Q5ID, and that's the nature of what we're doing.
Right.
It doesn't go, you can't hack it because you can't find it. Let me put it that way. We develop a personal database that is so deep, because we need numbers to put perspective on everything these days. The failure rate is 1 in 933 billion, which is 100 times the world's population.
Yeah.
So we're getting into surreal numbers in terms of how efficient this is. It allows us to offer a protection that doesn't exist anywhere else. It allows the consumer the confidence of saying there's only one me, and I can give out the information. Even still, they could hack the company, but there's whatever is there, they can't use because it's not me.
Yeah.
So we have to start thinking in a different concept now.
Right.
That it's a world. Just try to wrap your mind around a world that doesn't have passwords, that doesn't have usernames, that I am who I am because I've proven it. And cradle to grave, that will be there, that one check mark. So I refer to Q5ID as a terminal technology, because once your identity has been proven, you can't prove it anymore. You do a headbutt right into the wall of reality. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a terminal technology.
That's a great phrase. I love looking at it that way. Now, you mentioned, of course, making it understandable to the audience, to the community, so that kind of begs the question, who is the target audience for this? Is this an enterprise technology, or is this a consumer technology, or both?
It's
absolutely both. Good, Becky, go ahead.
I was just going to say the one thing John hit on, I don't want to get away from, just real quick to make the point of, is one of the premises when we built this company and we built this capability, this disruption, was the fact that the dark web has all those people's secrets. What's your mother's maiden name? What's your, what was your first address? What was your car? What happens, and John hit upon this when he said that, this, you get one identity, you cannot reverse engineer this identity. So if in fact our hypothesis is true, where we believe everybody's personal secrets and stuff have already been breached, we make that a so what event. Because just as John said, you get one identity, and what's been key. So when we think about how we run our lives, you're going to go buy something on Craigslist. Number one, do you know who does the person do a dating site, or you're going to go meet, or you're going to get into an Uber or a gig? You start to see opportunities that don't exist today that say, well, I want to know who I'm really dealing with. And John, you be you. I want to make sure Becky is really Becky. And whether I'm hiring her as an employee to make sure that I'm not adding risk to my company. So there's all these different use cases in the world today that when you have the identity proving versus assuming they're who they say they are, it changes the whole outcome, and it removes fraud and everything else that we're talking about. So when you ask the question about, is it focused on a consumer, is it focused on a business? It's both. And if we do our job right, honestly, Jill, it's It's the Intel chip inside. As you conduct your life as a consumer, that's your asset getting back your identity.
Yeah.
And so you can decide, who gets to keep that information. That's your asset that stays with you. And you're not going to get more than one. That stays with you cradle to grave, just as John said. And that doesn't exist today. So the world of passwords and all that, you can see already the segue. Well, who needs that? Because those are always vulnerability pieces. And now all of a sudden they cannot reverse engineer your identity, your Q5 identity, because we've proven, we go all the way back and we use a combination of liveness, biometric markers, IP, different, databases and so forth, that we create this whole way that proves Becky is Becky. And nobody does that today. And that's what makes this so difficult to discuss, because we've never had it as a consumer or as a business. But with fraud running rampant and the more and more need to prove and be sure you're dealing with who you say you are, you can see already how this just becomes dial tone, or like John said, terminal. This is, you do it one time.
It's a very simple process for the consumer to do. You simply sign on to the Q5 ID app that you get through the App Store or through your Google Access apps as well. It's about a 3-minute process. You're basically, the biometrics include palm prints, a facial scan as well, but it's a deep facial scan. It will include government ID, and it will also include a verbal interview, so that because there's so much that in the live element of me speaking, I'm giving away all of the certain tonal data. I'm giving away certain visual vowel shaping data. This is why you begin to understand that we're at the point of a failure rate of 1 in 933 billion, because that database is so deep. You just can't. There's just no way possible in the human experience to be able to breach it.
So let me ask you this: how does this application, let's say a consumer or even a business for that matter with its employees, signs on and decides to utilize this, does it integrate with other applications and systems and technology so that it becomes the authentication system for those technologies?
Yes, on that. And one of the things, so we publish our open API. So we use standards-based kinds of ways to connect. One of the design imperatives that we built around this solution was not to create where it creates this, heavy lift with integration and all that stuff. So here would be the way this would work. So you'd go out, just like John said, to the app stores, you download the app and it's free. And so you go through the quick enrollment process, you'd have it. You go to your bank as an example, or you go to your bank and you use your card, you swipe in, and when you get to the teller, depending on the transaction, the bank may want, because just as John said, with palm and face, we have a 1 in 933 billion false acceptance rate. And like he said, it's 100 times more people than are on the earth. But say if I'm a bank in my operating fabric, I don't care if you use your credit card to buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks. But if you're going to go get a wire transfer, then I may want stepped up authentication. I may want more biometric markers or more authentication to agree at the higher level of assurance. So what you're seeing is it gets integrated into the operating fabric of the way the company runs their business practices. And our big focus and where we're seeing a lot of attention is in areas where fraud is rampant. People aren't who they say they are, the telecom, the integrated financial services, the insurance industry, the list goes on. We just see this, and I just see this as dial tone.
Yeah.
And so it isn't a heavy lift to integrate. It's a service that what happens is the business would call our service, and it extends their current way of, say, authenticating or authorizing. And we come back and it handshakes with it back, and it's a gateway into their systems as an example.
Okay.
That help, Jill?
Yeah. That's interesting. So how much awareness is needed on the enterprise level, on the banks and so forth? Obviously talking to you today, and it's a big journey, right? I mean, I always tell people I feel sorry for the Motorola product manager that walked into his board and said he needs to put a camera on the phone, or Eric Schmidt trying to talk, Bill Gates into investing in the search engine and stuff, because
the way that's always been done is nobody's asked for it. Well, nobody's asked for proven identity, right? So there's no awareness. We've never had it. So we don't know why we need it. So that's the journey John and I are on, is trying to make people understand it becomes cornerstone and vital to operating your life in a safe manner, but also taking back control of your asset called your identity and protecting yourself in the long run from what's happening around the world. Breaches are happening every day. And even if you don't hear about it, it doesn't mean it, Jill, it hasn't happened.
Oh, yeah.
I also, let me add too, that I hear the sound of distant thunder. And it's not distant, and it's all digital. We have moved into an area that is getting truly scary, and that is the deep fake.
Yes.
And this has got to be addressed on an international security level, not just an entertainment level or a abuse of rights. It's not just about somebody taking my face or my voice and doing their own Peterman monologue with it. It's about taking a CEO and taking all of the biometrics of his, running it through the software that is there, that does all the oral and everything that produces that face and the tone of that CEO. And you can put statements into his mouth about his company that would bankrupt that company before you could even turn around. And let me tell you, if I can imagine that, somebody in the dark web has already thought of it.
And probably done it, to be honest.
And can do it. Now, I mean, it extends farther into political figures around the world. We live on a hair trigger world right now of things of immediate information and immediate emotional reaction. The markets are susceptible to that. Our political, I hate to say that, our international security also operates. We can't correct as quickly as we can offend.
Yeah.
And because we're at that stage right now where the dark web offers circumstantial dangers quicker than we will ever realize that we need to protect them. We're always playing catch-up baseball, but the sooner we get this integrated as the dial tone, the easier this is going to be, because it absolutely debilitates the world of the dark web. They can no longer hack because the information is invaluable. It is not valuable.
It's not valuable, right?
Yeah.
And
so it's about you're about 3 years in, I guess. Am I doing that right? 2019, about 3 years in since the company was and the product offering is available. And now it truly is about awareness. I have to imagine, both in terms of the consumer, but also enterprise partners, whether it be banks, whether, right? That's where you are at this point, really kind of driving.
It's about hitting the low hanging fruit right now. And that's the people that are going to be stung financially, that experience constant loss, chronic loss. And this will zip that right up immediately. Also, we look at social media. I wouldn't be surprised if the phone rings this week and it's Elon Musk saying that from now on, all people who go through Twitter must stop at Q5 ID, so that they establish who they are. Well, there can be no bots after that. The whole concept of the bot disappears. We have bots because we have holes. When the hole in an identity is sewn up, then you have nothing but authentication and accountability. Easy.
That's great.
Well, and Jill, you probably saw the recent trades of the big study that FBI just came out with, talking about, all the companies that have people that have 4 or 5 different jobs and so forth, and because they haven't been able to define and assume or prove that the person is who they say they are, and they could be working for nefarious organizations, they could be stealing customer information. So we're out talking, because one of the capabilities of a proven identity is to enable these companies to be able to know who their employees are. And then in the integrated financial services arena, the regulators are requiring that the banks know their customers. Mm-hmm. So the whole anti-money laundering stuff that's going on. So imagine now with a proven identity, you have the defensive tactics to be able to demonstrate to the regulators, your customers, what kinds of patterns of behavior they're exhibiting. And then same thing with as an employer, because you're liable for whatever your employees do. knowing that your employees are who they say they are, they work directly for you, and they're not holding multiple jobs or tied to different nefarious organizations, stealing customer information and so forth. So those are all collateral benefits of having the ID proven. But again, it's never existed, so people don't really realize they've just lived with the environment as we know it.
Yeah.
But we didn't need a search engine either, right, Joe?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point. That's exciting. It's a good timing to be talking about it too, given Awareness Month is October. So here we are. We actually have a full package of content that we've been putting out this month, and this certainly fits right in within that. So
we can't really underscore how simple this is to do. And you do it once, and then it's there from cradle to grave. Even if you decided never to use it again, it would still be there.
Your identity.
The authentication would still be there. And the beauty of it is, Q5 ID doesn't have it. It's yours. You own it. It's your asset. You decide where it goes. And remember, wherever you give it, it's still not hackable and usable to anybody who went and tried to use it anywhere.
yeah.
You are you, and they can't use you to be somebody else.
Yeah, that's great.
And we don't store, Joe, we don't store biometrics. We use them these are just patterns and derivatives that we use of our models and stuff to get that highest level of assurance to prove Becky is Becky. And John brought up the social network side, which it's social networking, which actually is an opportunity. Again, it becomes even more critical to know the person you're dealing with is who they say they are. But now put this into the world of the metaverses. The beauty of the metaverses is its openness. And so it becomes even more critical to be sure the person you're working with is the person you say they are. And kids are playing in that space right now. And so from a parent's perspective, I'm even more concerned, who is my child really speaking with and so forth. So here's a way, what we see is that Q5 ID could protect or create a safe environment in the metaverses. And that's not being addressed right now.
No.
The beauty of it is it's the scariness of it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been great. I'm afraid we are out of time, but I want to thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you,
and I'm looking forward to seeing more. It's exciting, and it's certainly very timely.
Download the app, download the app, Jill, and give us your feedback. It's free, so we'd be curious.
I absolutely will. I'll probably be writing an article, and I will not share all my information on there, but I will definitely share my.
That's it. You can share all the information. Remember, you're you. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you both so much for this, and congratulations. And certainly keep us posted. It's
Thanks again.
Really an interesting
technology. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, John.
Great to talk with you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.